Hey there, fight fans! First up, we've got to talk about Francis Ngannou. You know, the Predator himself, who just dropped some serious truth bombs about that dream fight with Jon Jones that every single one of us wanted to see. And trust me, what he's saying, it's going to make your blood boil. In a revealing interview with Sportsbook Review, Ngannou didn't hold back one bit. He pointed the finger straight at UFC president Dana White, calling him a massive obstacle that blocked what could have been one of the biggest fights in heavyweight history. You can hear the raw frustration, the disappointment in Francis's voice when he opened up about this whole situation. And honestly, who can blame him? This man has been chasing the Jon Jones fight since 2020, right after that devastating knockout of Jairzinho Rozenstruik at UFC 249. But here's where the story takes a turn that'll make your jaw drop. Francis believes the UFC was playing mind games with him the entire time. The way he tells it, they were dangling that Jones fight like a carrot on a stick, especially when they caught wind that he might be thinking about leaving the promotion. Listen to the emotion in Francis's words. You can feel the betrayal. If you can get past Dana White, it could happen, but that's a massive obstacle. But personally, I don't care. I'm doing well. I'm doing my stuff at my pace. I don't care. That won't change my sleep for me. But that's not even the most shocking part, Francis continued, his voice filled with conviction. I have tried to fight Jon Jones for 4 years, and then they were holding it out like a trap until the moment that I was about to leave. Then they said, okay, here's the Jon Jones fight, but it was bait. I felt they were very tricky. The way Francis describes it, it's like a movie plot, right? The UFC using one of the biggest potential fights in history as leverage. But here's what's truly remarkable about Francis. Despite all this drama, despite the games being played, he's not letting it break his spirit. He's moved on, focusing on building his own legacy, carving his own path in the fight game. Though, and this is where it gets really interesting, Francis suggests that maybe, just maybe, Dana White is hoping to see him fail outside the UFC. Can you imagine carrying that weight on your shoulders, knowing that one of the most powerful figures in combat sports might be rooting for your downfall? Now, speaking of Jon Jones, buckle up because we've got to talk about this absolutely wild situation that just unfolded. Bones went on this bizarre Instagram live session that had the entire MMA community holding their breath. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. Daniel Cormier, yes, you heard that right, DC himself actually came to Jones's defense. I know what you're thinking, DC defending Jones? Has the world turned upside down? But trust me, this story gets even more interesting. Picture this. Jones is on Instagram Live and he starts talking about parenting frustrations in a way that sent shivers down everyone's spine. His exact words were pretty intense. You get pissed off, disappointed, and as a dad, you just want to kill them. Now, naturally, this set social media on fire. Everyone was speculating, wondering what could have pushed Jones to this point, especially given his history of controversial moments. Jones tried to do damage control on Twitter later, posting a quick message. Sorry, was just getting crazy, I'm done, over it. But the real shocker came when DC, Jones's longtime rival, the man who's had some of the most heated exchanges with him both in and out of the octagon, actually stepped up to defend him. During an episode of Funky and the Champ, Cormier said something that left everyone stunned. I don't like being supportive of Jon Jones. Jones was walking down the street saying some crazy stuff about his kid if he was on vacation. Haven't we all been there? Maybe not that extreme, but our kids drive us crazy. And you know what the worst part is? When you go back to that hotel room, you're the bad guy. Everyone's gonna make it like you're the bad guy for being upset. I don't want to defend him, but come on, haven't we all been there? That's DC, the same man who's had some of the most bitter feuds with Jones, showing a level of understanding and humanity that transcends their rivalry. It's moments like these that remind us that behind all the trash talk and bad blood, these fighters are human beings dealing with real-life situations. Now, let's dive deep into this absolutely fascinating drama that's been brewing between Khamzat Chimaev and Merab Dvalishvili. If you thought the previous stories were intense, wait until you hear this. There's this video that's been making waves on Vadgila's YouTube channel showing Merab and Vad watching the Chimaev vs Usman fight. And let me tell you, what went down during that viewing session has sparked a fire that's still burning. Imagine being a fly on the wall during this moment. There's Merab, one of the top bantamweights in the world, watching this fight with pure intensity. But he's not just watching, he's actively, passionately cheering for Usman. You can hear the raw emotion in his voice as he's practically jumping out of his seat. Let's go, man! Come on, press him for sake. Come on, Usman, you must fight like a warrior. The energy in that room was electric. When Kamaru finally started throwing heavy shots in those closing moments, you could hear the frustration just pouring out of Merab. He's swinging now. Should have started swinging in earlier rounds for God's sake. It wasn't just support for Usman, it was clear as day that Merab was actively rooting against Chimaev. Well, as you can imagine, Khamzat didn't take too kindly to this when he found out. When he appeared on Adam Zub's YouTube channel, the temperature in the room changed the moment this topic came up. Though he played it cool and didn't mention Merab by name, the message he delivered was sharp as a razor. You could feel the controlled anger, the disappointment in his voice when he responded. "I mostly don't care, to be honest. There were times when I bothered confronting some people, but now it doesn't bother me. I've also gotten used to the fact that a lot of these fighters don't want to see me win." But then he dug deeper, touching on something that clearly bothered him. "They act one way in front of a camera, but when I see them in person, they're silent. The energy just isn't there. In this case too, I've met him before, and he didn't say anything negative." And then came the kicker, the part that really shows how personal this has become. "I'm not here to insult anyone, but I believe that if you're a man, you should keep the same energy in person, not just behind a camera." You can feel the challenge in those words, the underlying tension that's just waiting to explode. But here's what makes this situation even more fascinating. It's not just about Chimaev and Merab. This is just the latest chapter in what's becoming an epic rivalry between Georgian fighters and the Dagestani Chechen camp. We've got Ilia Topuria out there, calling for a shot at Islam Makhachev, while Islam's team is dismissing him, telling him to prove himself at lightweight first. Then there's this intense beef between Merab and Umar Nurmagomedov. These guys have already gotten physical with each other. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. This isn't just about individual matchups anymore. There's something deeper here, a clash of pride, of regional rivalry, of different fighting philosophies. Whether it's Ilia wanting to throw down with Islam, Merab and Umar's heated exchanges, or now Chimaev taking shots at Merab. This rivalry between the Georgian fighters and the Dagestani Chechen elite is like a powder keg just waiting to explode. And just when you think we've covered all the drama, we've got to talk about Justin Gaethje's recent statements about Islam Makhachev that have got everyone talking. This is particularly interesting because Justin's got this massive fight coming up against Dan Hooker at UFC 313, a 5-round co-main event in Las Vegas that could make or break his title aspirations. But here's what's got everyone buzzing. Gaethje believes he matches up better with Islam than he did with Khabib. Now that's a bold statement considering Justin is one of the very few warriors who managed to win a round against the Eagle. But when you hear him talk about that Nurmagomedov fight, there's this raw honesty in his voice. He admits with a kind of humility that you don't often see in this sport that no matter what he did that night, victory probably wasn't in the cards. The hunger in Gaethje's voice when he talks about another shot at the title is palpable. You can feel his determination, his belief that this time could be different, but he's not getting ahead of himself. He knows that Dan Hooker is standing in his way, and that's a 5-round war that could derail everything if he's not at his absolute best. What makes this whole situation so compelling is the journey Gaethje's been on. He's been right there on the doorstep of undisputed glory twice before, falling short against both Khabib and Charles Oliveira by submission. But instead of letting those setbacks break him, they've only fueled his fire. The way he talks about potentially facing Makhachev, you can hear that he's learned from those experiences, that he's evolved not just as a fighter, but as a martial artist. That's the beauty of this sport, isn't it? The constant evolution, the never-ending quest for improvement, the burning desire to prove yourself against the best in the world. And Gaethje embodies that spirit perfectly. Even after those championship losses, even after feeling the crushing weight of defeat on the biggest stage, he's still here, still fighting, still believing that his time will come. And there you have it, fight fans. What an absolutely wild ride through the latest and greatest drama in the world of MMA. From Francis Ngannou pulling back the curtain on why that Jones fight never happened, to DC showing unexpected support for his longtime rival, to this explosive situation between the Georgian and Dagestani Chechen camps, and Gaethje's unwavering pursuit of gold. The fight game never fails to deliver these incredible stories of triumph, tragedy, and everything in between. Keep those notifications on, stay tuned, and I'll be back with more breaking news from the world of mixed martial arts. Until then, keep fighting the good fight and never stop believing in your dreams. This is the MMA News, signing off.